Hello and welcome to my video lecture associated with the issues that you're going to come into, that you're going to run into when you're trying to gather all of this data that we've spoken about in previous lectures. So not only are we talking about company-wide, and here we're going to talk about company-wide, but always keep in mind that we've got information coming at us from a whole menagerie of sources. We've got Facebook. We can analyze, trends in Facebook. We can look for who's advertising in Facebook, who are people advertising to in Facebook. We can try to identify our customers. And again, that's statistical. We can't, for the most part, we can't match up our customers with people on Facebook, unless, of course, they've given us the same email address that they're using with Facebook. We can match them up directly then. If not, we can use statistical methods to try to make a high probability association between a Facebook entity and our customers, etc., etc. We can analyze information, depending on our business. There's any number of sources of information out there that we can tap into to analyze trends for whatever reason we want. In this case, we're talking about simply company-wide. We've got typically, and here at Hofstra we have this going on. We've got various systems trying to keep track of various pieces of information. So for instance, we've got our banner system, which is keeping track of you, our students. It's keeping track of our faculty. It's keeping track of our employees. It's keeping track of finance. It's keeping track of human resources. Keeping track of admissions. Keeping track of alumni. We've got the law school using it. We've got the medical school using it. We've got various schools within the university using the same system. So that's great. So we have one place, whole bunch of data. Unfortunately, we also have, well, fortunately or unfortunately, we have other systems trying to keep track of other things as well. As I said in a previous video, we have the Wellness Center has their own system. The public safety area has its own system. So there are, the library uses a variety of external system to keep track of its data. So when we're trying to bring them together, for instance, if a student goes to the Wellness Center, how are we matching up a student that visits the Wellness Center with a student record, right, to ensure that that's actually a student? We're going to talk about key structures. How do we identify, right? What's the primary key used to identify students in the various systems? Going to talk about things like synonyms, right? So something that's named differently in one system but means the same as something that has a different name in a different system. Or worse, something that has a similar name but holds completely different information. And we'll get into that in just a second. Free form versus structured field. So am I picking from a list like I should be if I'm trying to submit an address, for instance? Am I picking from a list of states, or am I allowed to just type in the states? And if I'm allowed to just type in the states, do I allow somebody to just type in TY as a state, which doesn't exist? And again, that gets into inconsistent data values. Am I keeping track of dates? Am I keeping track of dates and times, for instance, would be an inconsistent data value. And what do we do about missing data? So missing data can be a huge problem. What do we do if we don't have a telephone number for someone? Do we allow someone to have a missing data? Things of that nature. So let's take a look at figure 9.1. And here's an example where we've got one system. So we'll call the one on top would be, say, banner, right? So we've got our student data. Then, for instance, if Human Resources was keeping track of information in a different system for the fact that a student is an employee. And then we've got our student health record, which would be associated with the wellness center. So you can see at the top in the student data, the student number is the primary key, which happens to be the social security number, properly formatted. When you look at student employee, again, the student ID, which is the primary key, is the student social security number. And then when you get to student health, you see that there is no, well, I shouldn't say that. The student primary key is actually the student name, the first, middle initial, and last name. So what do you do for things like a student that doesn't have a middle initial? How do you handle that? Missing data would be down the bottom. We've got Elaine Smith with no insurance information. What do you do about that? And then the fact that these three systems are not using the same primary key makes it interesting to try to match them all together. You can see that in the student data, the last name, the middle initial, and the first name are properly relationally normalized bits of information, whereas in the student health record, they're not. They're all put all together in one student name column. You know, we've got the telephone number in the student data. We've got the telephone number in student health, but not in student employment. You know, the student status as a sophomore or a junior isn't being kept track of in any of the other tables. So here's an example of heterogeneous data that we're going to need to bring together to put into our data warehouse. And that is the end of my video lecture associated with issues associated with your data and how we're going to and the fact that we're going to need to deal with these when we bring this data into a data warehouse.